I have a dream, that's all I need. I'll make it happen with some work and belief. Know what I want.
Welcome back to K-pop News. Today, we bring you a story that has been quietly stirring emotions among fans and observers alike. A story shaped not by loud statements or breaking headlines, but by silence, by distance, and by questions that remain unanswered. As conversations continue to grow around Kim Taehyung, we take a closer look at what lies beneath the rumors and what this quiet moment may truly mean. In recent weeks, a quiet unease has continued to linger in the public eye, growing louder with each passing day. Is Kim Taehyung truly doing okay, especially in relation to Hybe? This question did not emerge from a single incident or an open controversy. Instead, it was born from something far more subtle and haunting: silence. Taehyung has not disappeared. He is still present, still moving forward. Yet his presence feels different now. Calmer, more distant, as if he is walking a path slightly removed from the spotlight that once followed his every step. To some, this shift may seem insignificant, but to those who have followed him for years, who have learned to recognize his rhythms and emotional language, something feels undeniably different. The rumors surrounding a possible strain between Taehyung and Hybe did not arise from loud conflict, but from an emotional distance that feels palpable. There has been no denial, no clarification, no official words to hold on to. And in that empty space, speculation has taken root and grown. Many have tried to read meaning in the smallest details: his expressions, his increasingly personal artistic choices, the way he seems to guard his inner world more carefully than before. These fragments have been woven together into a larger narrative, that perhaps Taehyung is no longer fully aligned with the system surrounding him. Yet, truth is rarely as simple as rumor makes it seem. To this day, there is no concrete evidence confirming that Taehyung is in conflict with Hybe. No official statements, no verified reports, no direct acknowledgement from either side. What exists instead is interpretation, filtered through emotion, concern, and the fear of losing someone who has meant so much to so many. In the world of K-pop, silence is rarely allowed to exist on its own. Every pause is analyzed, every absence is questioned. Stillness is often mistaken for distress. But for someone like Taehyung, an artist known for his emotional depth and sensitivity, silence can be a form of self-preservation. It can mean reflection. It can mean healing. It can mean choosing to step back, not because something is broken, but because something inside needs care. What makes this moment especially emotional is that Taehyung is more than an idol to many people. He is comfort. He is familiarity. He is a presence that has quietly accompanied countless lives through joy and hardship. When someone like that seems to drift away, anxiety naturally follows. However, the relationship between an artist and an agency is never a simple story told from the outside. It is shaped by pressure, expectations, trust, compromise, and long processes invisible to the public eye. Reducing all of that complexity to a single word like conflict risks missing the deeper reality entirely. Taehyung's silence today may hold many meanings, but one thing remains clear. Silence does not always mean pain, and distance does not always signal separation. Sometimes it is a sign of growth. Sometimes it is the quiet before transformation. Sometimes it is simply a person choosing not to speak until their heart is ready. As of now, the rumors surrounding Taehyung and Hybe remain just that: rumors. Stories shaped by longing and concern rather than confirmed truth. And perhaps, amid all the speculation, the most humane response is to offer patience, to give space without demands, to allow silence to exist without forcing it to explain itself. Because sometimes a person does not need defense or clarification. They need time. And perhaps Taehyung is exactly there right now, moving through a long, quiet moment, carrying unseen weight, and slowly stepping toward a new version of himself, away from the noise, but not without purpose. As this silence stretches on, it begins to feel less like a temporary pause and more like a meaningful space, one filled with unspoken weight. The longer it lasts, the clearer it becomes that this is not something that can be rushed into an explanation. Whatever Taehyung is moving through appears to be deeply internal, shaped by years of pressure, expectation, and the quiet cost of always being seen. For a long time, Taehyung carried himself as someone who gave freely: emotion, creativity, vulnerability, often without guarding the parts of himself that were most sensitive. That openness became part of why people connected to him so strongly. But it also meant that every change in his energy, every shift in his presence, would be felt immediately by those watching closely. Now, as he chooses restraint over exposure, the contrast feels striking. There is a growing sense that this moment is less about conflict and more about reclaiming autonomy. Not rebellion, not rejection, but reflection. An artist reaching a point where continuing forward requires re-evaluating the structures around him, and perhaps even the version of himself that the world has grown comfortable with. That kind of reckoning is rarely loud. It happens quietly, often painfully, and almost always away from public view. Speculation continues to circulate, but it lacks direction because there is no clear source to anchor it. Each theory rises and falls on emotion rather than evidence. And yet, the emotions themselves are real. They come from attachment, from gratitude, from years of shared memories between an artist and those who have supported him unconditionally. That emotional bond is what makes this silence feel so heavy. What many fail to consider is how exhausting it can be to exist as a symbol. To represent comfort, beauty, consistency, and strength all at once, without pause. At some point, even the most devoted artist must confront the question of selfhood beyond expectation. When that moment arrives, stepping back is not weakness, it is survival. There is also the possibility that this phase marks a transition rather than a rupture. Not an ending, but a quiet reshaping. Growth often requires distance, from noise, from routine, from roles that no longer fit as they once did. And for someone like Taehyung, whose artistry has always been tied to emotion and authenticity, continuing without inner alignment would be far more damaging than choosing silence. Until clarity comes, if it ever does, this moment remains suspended between concern and respect. The absence of answers does not mean something is wrong. It simply means the story is still unfolding. Not every truth arrives on schedule. Some truths need time to breathe before they can be spoken. What remains undeniable is that Taehyung's journey is his own. Whatever he is facing, whatever decisions lie ahead, they deserve to be approached with patience rather than pressure. Because behind every rumor is a real person, navigating change in a world that rarely allows stillness. And perhaps this silence is not meant to distance him from the world, but to bring him closer to himself. As time moves forward, the silence surrounding Taehyung begins to take on a different weight, one that feels intentional rather than accidental. It no longer resembles uncertainty alone, but the quiet of someone standing still in order to understand where they truly belong. In an industry that rarely allows pause, choosing stillness can be one of the bravest decisions an artist makes. For years, Taehyung's life unfolded under constant observation. Every smile was captured, every emotion analyzed, every choice debated. Over time, that level of exposure can blur the line between who a person is and who they are expected to be. When that line becomes too thin, stepping back is not abandonment, it is self-preservation. What many sense now is not anger nor rejection, but distance shaped by exhaustion. Emotional exhaustion that cannot be cured by applause or success. Creative exhaustion that demands solitude instead of schedules. This kind of fatigue does not announce itself loudly. It settles quietly, asking for space rather than sympathy. There is also a growing awareness that Taehyung's inner world has evolved. The person he is today may not fully align with the framework that once defined him. Growth often creates tension, not because something is wrong, but because something has changed. And change, especially personal change, is rarely comfortable when lived in public. In moments like these, silence becomes a boundary, a way to protect what is fragile before it is ready to be shared. Not every feeling can be translated into statements. Not every decision needs immediate explanation. Some paths must be walked alone before they can be understood by others. The lack of clarity has left many holding on to questions, but questions do not always demand answers right away. Sometimes they exist to remind us that the story is still unfolding, that not all chapters are meant to be read in real time, that some growth happens beyond the reach of cameras and headlines. What is certain is that Taehyung remains deeply human within all of this. Not a symbol frozen in expectation, but a person navigating transition under immense pressure. Whatever this silence represents, reflection, recalibration, or quiet resolve, It carries the weight of someone choosing honesty with himself over comfort for others. And perhaps, when the time is right, this silence will not feel like absence anymore.